Hello, I'm your host, Leonard Duncan. Welcome to a new episode of ATV-TALK and Motorsports Podcast. Please join us every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We bring you interviews with industry professionals, live events, live news about the motorsports industry in every episode. Enjoy the show. Whether we are out riding with our friends and family or racing in extreme environments, we all need good tires. That's why I recommend GBC Power Sports Tires, a division of Greenball Corp. Their products, which include XC Master, Mini Master, and Groundbuster 3, are what leading professionals in the ATV-UTV industry are using. You can get your tires at greenballtires.com or find them on Instagram as GBC Tires for further inquiries. Are you looking for the best suspension technology for your sport ATV? Look no further than Elka Suspension, the industry leader in sport ATV suspension technology. With championship wins in prestigious events such as the Dakar Rally, SCORE, Best in the Desert, ATV MX, Cross Country, and WORCS, Elka Suspension has established itself as the go-to choice for athletes and enthusiasts alike. But they don't just stop at ATVs. They're constantly expanding into new markets, including UTVs, trucks, SUVs, pit bikes, snowmobiles, and more. Their commitment to innovation and quality means they're always looking to improve and adapt so you can enjoy a smooth ride wherever you go. Want to learn more about what Elka Suspension can do for you? Visit their website at elkasuspension.com or give them a call at 450-655-4855. They will always be happy to answer your questions and help you find the perfect suspension solution for your needs. Jacob Stevens, welcome back to ATV Talk, brother. I know that we have you on the race reports, and not everybody knows your behind the scenes story. And I know that for a while there, you didn't want to talk about it. And I guess now's the time, and let's dive right into it. First, how are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing really good. Yeah, I know it's been a long year, and we'll figure out all the answers here shortly.
Well, you got injured multiple times, and finally it came down to treat it or suffer through another pointless season of not being able to ride 100%. The diagnosis in the treatment is, I'm going to let you lay it out for us all.
Yeah, so it's the injury that I went through was kind of a ongoing injury for a very long time, and in my 2021 season, my full season of Pro Works, it didn't really start to bother me until maybe the third or fourth round. And then my shoulder started to get worse and worse as time went on. It started to just pop out of place and dislocate, multiple times a race, multiple times throughout the week in training. And I just kind of sucked it up for the rest of the year and tried to do as good as I could. I know I could have done better. I know I could have finished better. I know I still could finish better if I came back 100%. It was just one of those injuries that was I let it go a little too long, so it's kind of on my part. I should have got it fixed as soon as possible, but I guess, when you're a competitor and a racer and, it's not physically hurting all the time, it's kind of one of those things that it's like, all right, I'm just going to toughen it out, toughen it out, toughen it out. And it just continuously got worse and worse. And I had to make the decision to get it fixed. And the recovery time on it was about a year long total. It was 6 months of pretty much no moving it, no lifting more than 5 pounds for 6 months, just getting the mobility back. And then it was another 6 months of strength physical therapy. So, I mean, but from the time I got it in the beginning of May of 22. or no, 23, because I raced 22. Yeah, so beginning of 20 May of 2023, I got surgery on my labrum, kind of reconstruction my whole shoulder. Pulled my rotator cuff over the bone, kind of just put it all back into place to make it as strong as possible without getting a full shoulder replacement. And I really wasn't 100% until right about now. So
So being 100% with knowing that if you damage it, it's permanent.
yeah, no, and that's kind of where the decision to hang it up came into factor. Is, the surgeons told me that, if I were to injure that spot on my shoulder again, like in the specific spot on my labrum, and like the same similar injuries with just wear and tear of the shoulder, they were telling me that I would probably need a full shoulder replacement before the age of 30 years old. So that's kind of where hanging it up and, stopping the professional racing, a little bit short lived, I think. But it was kind of a decision on, destroy my right arm and right shoulder for potentially the rest of my life or stop racing. So,
So what psychologically have you been dealing with? Because you've lived ATV racing most of your life.
yeah, no, I've been racing since I was 12, and I mean it was a hard decision to make. Me and my dad, we talked for many, many months on getting a bike ready to race, this season now. So, it was a lot of talking, a lot of figuring things out. And, I had a good long 14 years racing motocross, 15 years. And I can't say I've accomplished everything I wanted to accomplish, obviously, but I've accomplished a lot. And I think I've accomplished enough to where I can sleep at night. In the beginning, going to the track, I didn't really feel super emotionally connected to it after the, 6 months of physical therapy and what I had to go through physically. It really wasn't the hardest decision, but the first time back at the track, last year was tough. The first couple times back were tough. I think as time goes on, it gets a little bit easier to deal with not racing competitively, but I mean, I do miss riding. I wish, one day I'm gonna ride again. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I can't stay off of a machine for the rest of my life, but I think the competitive side of things is probably it.
When when the doctors told you about your shoulder, was your initial reaction like most professional athletes? Oh, that's not true. I'm good. I'm stronger than that.
Yeah, no, it was exactly. I didn't I didn't even have the thought in my head of hanging it up at all. Like it wasn't even a topic of discussion, even like going into surgery. And then after my 6 months of like mobility, physical therapy, and like feeling where my arm was at, and like I even struggle with, pain now, like in my day job, and thinking now with how my shoulder feels, it feels good. I mean, I can lift a good amount of weight over my head, and I have great mobility back. But like I can still feel the fatigue in it. I can still feel, it's not gonna ever feel like it did before. And it is in the back of my head. To go through what I went through again, if not worse, with a shoulder replacement, it's just one of those things that I don't know that I'm worth giving up for the rest of my life, having a really, really bad shoulder versus a, mediocre, able to, still hang sheetrock and hold plywood and carry plywood up and down stairs and ladders. So it was just kind of one of those things that, you know, had to be done.
How has it affected your dad? Because you and him were, race partners basically.
Yeah. At first it was tough. I mean, he didn't want to stop at first. And I get it. I mean, he put a lot of time and effort and, money into, the last 14, 15 years of racing. So, I mean, it's tough, I guess, as a dad to, finally make the decision on like, today's the day, or, November of of 21 or 22 was my last race ever, or not ever, but my last professional, ATV race, I would say, ever. And I guess you don't appreciate the times when you're in them until they're over.
When you talk to other professionals and other racers that you know, what are some of the conversations like?
Um, Most of the racers understand. They get they get it. Some of them don't. A lot of my good buddies that still race professionally, even back east, I told them and they were like, "Oh, you're crazy, like blah blah blah, like what's wrong with you? Like you should keep racing, like who cares?" And some of them understand. I got to talk to a couple riders that have quit in the last few years, like a Logan Stanfield that hung it up because of just injuries and time, and he was kind of just at that point in his life. Um, so like I've had some good support from other riders that have done it, some riders that are still racing, and some riders don't agree with it, but it's my body, not theirs.
Right. I mean, the ones that understand are are they riders that are suffering through injuries, or are they just because
I
they
think most
respect
of
your
them, yeah, most of them understand in the fact of like, as much as we want this sport to be a career and we want ATV motocross to be a career, it's only a career for a handful of people. And, the people that, it's not a career and you put the thought in their head like, you could mess your body up for the rest of your life, or you could stop and, you know, live a normal life with a normal body. And once you kind of put it in perspective for a lot of riders, they get it. If they've haven't already struggled through injury, if they haven't, thought about, injury versus, stop riding, or if they haven't, gone through a severe injury, they can put it into perspective. Most riders that have been doing it for a long period of time want to be able to walk away from this at the end of their career and, live a normal life. So I think a lot of people just with perspective, they understand.
did it ever go through your mind when you were racing that you risked bodily injury every time you threw your leg over?
Oh yeah, 100%. I was definitely. I mean, it's always in the back of your head, but as soon as your helmet goes on and your leg goes over the quad, you can't think like that, especially at a professional level. If you have the fear of getting hurt and the fear of, you know, crashing and getting injured and all that stuff, you're really not going to ride at your true potential. And I was very fearful on a four wheeler for many, many years, until I started riding for the Fords. Actually, a handful of riders, helped me escape the fear of, getting the fear out of my head when you're on the track. Obviously, you think about it when you're off the track, but when you're on the track, you can't let that fear kind of overpower you.
Right. And how did they help you do that?
Riders like, it was a lot of the pro riders that were there, even like somebody like, Bryce Ford and Cody, going down to their track and how big the jumps were and how, it was a full bore national, motocross track at their facility, and the pro riders just kind of pushing me to hit bigger jumps and pushing me to, ride a little bit more on the edge, and, just the daily riding and, motivation from the riders that were there, like Ronnie Higgerson, the Ford brothers, even John and Robin, Nick Janusa, Wesley Wolf, all of these riders kind of had a big, part in putting me to the like another level of, dropping the fear, not thinking about it, getting more comfortable on my machine, and just kind of working my way up slowly.
If you were asked by a younger rider what the most important part of pre-race is, uh, from training to bike maintenance, what would you tell them to do?
Oh, I mean, I don't know that there is one specific thing that's more important than everything. I mean, it's all very, very, very like, relative in how important each thing is. Obviously, your bike maintenance and your, four-wheeler needs to be race ready to where it can withstand, what you're going to put it through for the duration of your race so you can finish. I mean, finishing the race is, the biggest part of the race. And then, winning the race, your machine's got to be top notch, your body's got to be top notch, your diet, your hydration, like it all kind of is a package deal. Like one works with the other, one doesn't work more than the other.
Do you think you ever mastered the physical part?
I felt in motocross, yeah, I did. In works, I did not. I don't think I mastered the physical side of works. I think it's just a, cross country racing or desert racing. It's just a whole different kind of physical condition that you have to be in versus, a motocross condition where it's very fast and sprint style, high heart rate, short duration. As difficult as motocross is, it's just a different style of training. So I do think that I had mastered the training behind motocross. I don't necessarily think that I was in the best shape that I could have been ever, just because of, how my career had panned out. But I do think like the science and the understanding behind motocross training, I think I have a pretty good understanding of.
When you became friends with Bo Barron
Hmm.
and look at his career and how long it's lasted from motorcycles to ATVs, not everybody gets that luck, that kind of luck or that kind of fortune.
Yeah. Yeah, no. It's something that, and it's not anything that he can't take credit for. I mean, he is a phenomenal rider, and I wouldn't even say that it's not even luck. I mean, maybe some of it is luck on, where you're crashing, how you're crashing, but at the end of the day, like he was just he was so comfortable at the speeds that he was going for his entire career that, he hasn't, maybe withstand, severe career-ending injuries. I know he's had many injuries. He's definitely went through the ringer of injuries and crashes and, bad seasons and long breaks and all that. But, it's definitely hard. I look at, a Chad Wienen and a Bo Barron and, you know, even some of the GNCC guys, McNeil and all those guys that have been racing for years and years and years, be able to still throw a leg over the four wheeler and still do it. It's crazy.
Do you ever do you ever lay there at night when you're wrestling with those emotions, wonder why didn't I get that 30 some year odd career?
Um, yes and no. It's hard because I mean I was definitely very reckless in my late teenage years, and I guess I'm sure everybody that is a professional four wheeler racer at any level has had that reckless, mentality when they were in their late teens, early 20s, and I just didn't make the best decisions for my body at the time, hitting jumps that nobody else was jumping, or going and riding snowboards and doing backflips on snowboards and doing like stupid things just to chase the adrenaline in sports outside of just motocross. And you know I think decisions like that in the past have led me to where my body is today. um so it's hard for me to stay up at night and kind of wish for something else. I have a good I'm pretty good at, dealing with what's at hand and kind of have the it is what it is mentality when it comes to a lot of permanent life decisions, and it kind of helps me get through it.
So, as a mentor to the younger riders, you're telling them to focus on their one sport and not go out and be on a skateboard or a snowboard or
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say stay off of, everything, only focus on one sport, but I mean, if your end goal is to be a Bo Barron, if your end goal is to be a Joel Hetrick or a Chad Wienen or, a Chris Borch or, any of those guys at the top level that have had very successful long careers. I mean, yeah, you gotta put the risk as low as you can get it, I guess, to have a really, really long career. I'm not saying to never go snowboard or never ride a skateboard or never, go cliff jumping or ride a wakeboard or any of that stuff. Like you still have fun and enjoy your life, but there's a level of like, hey, maybe I should go snowboard, but maybe I shouldn't try to do backflips. Or maybe I should go to the skate park, but maybe I should try to not do this huge gap or, like I guess it's just like, it comes based off of your skill level. If you can do backflips on a snowboard and not hurt yourself, then, go for it. But I was not prepared to do backflips on snowboards and I was doing them at a young age. And um, the injuries that came along with it kind of laid into the injuries going into racing, and it was just kind of I had fun, which is I can't regret it because I enjoyed my life. I enjoyed racing. I enjoyed the things that I did. So it's hard to sit back and regret it because I wouldn't change it if I could.
What's your most memorable race ever?
Oh man, I would say this is gonna sound kind of crazy. It wasn't. I guess when I finished second at Vegas in WORCS Pro, that was definitely one of those nights under the lights in Las Vegas, up on the podium. It was definitely a really, really cool experience. But if I had to choose a different one just overall throughout my whole career, it would be Loretta Lynn's in 2021. I rode a bone stock YFZ 450 and I was just like it was just one of the most fun weekends and track experiences that I ever had. I can remember it like it was yesterday. It was probably some of the most fun I've ever had on my quad in my life.
Everything flowed.
Everything was just working. The track was great. Even on a bone stock quad, I was still competing in the top, three for pro sport and pro am that year. And, I was just having so much fun. And, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about is having a good time. So
You think that your focus would be different if you were able to go back?
go back in time and change it.
No, to go back to racing.
My focus on racing would be like more severe, like I would focus more on it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think I would. I think that I have a different mindset with a lot of different things nowadays with money and with bills and all of those things. So if I did dump the time and energy into it, then yeah, I think that my focus would be a little bit stronger on racing for sure.
Is there a problem with racers nowadays taking it for granted?
I wouldn't say everybody takes it for granted, but there's definitely, I mean, I can't, I did, and I could have told you 2 years ago that I wasn't taking it for granted, but I definitely did. Um, so yeah, I think everybody does. I think everybody in anything that they do takes it for granted when they're in the moment. It's just kind of how when you're living that, high riding, racing, doing all these things, you don't think about how great it actually is in the moment until it's over. And then you kind of look back on everything and you wish you could go back to some of those days at the track.
Who was your idol's not the word I'm looking for, but the guy that you thought was the end all be all that you achieved, or that's who you wanted to achieve greatness like?
Um, I guess I mean at the end of the day, probably a Chad Wienen or a Joel Hetrick, you know, winning championships, being the talk of the ATV community across the globe in the ATV world. Chad Wienen and Joel Hetrick and Bo Barron. I guess just being at the top, one of the top guys. Um, one of my best friends, Wesley Wolf, would probably be another one. His attitude is just has always been so good, and I've looked up to him pretty much since we met in 2018, 2017. We met and we became friends, and I've always looked up to him, how his attitude is, his work ethic. He always has there's a problem, we're going to figure out how to fix it and go racing tomorrow. And he just always had a really positive, really hardworking attitude. And, I looked up to him and kind of tried to follow in his footsteps for a lot of my career. So I would say, Wesley did a lot for me throughout my career.
He had an injury also that almost ended his career.
Yeah, yep, he did. He absolutely destroyed his left elbow. Um, and he's fighting through it. and I give him tons of credit because he's finishing fourth, fifth back in nationals this year, and he's doing a lot better than he thought he would. So, he still has that, you know, wake up, go to work at 5 a.m. on Monday, go to the track on the weekends, bust his butt at home, and wherever he finishes at the races, he gets in his motorhome, he drives home and shows up to work on Monday and just keeps working and working and working. So, he don't have no quit in him. So you're not gonna see him go nowhere soon.
Nice. I mean, those are the kind of guys that you want to be around.
Yeah.
They're going to push you to the next level.
Yeah, and I was, grateful enough to grow a friendship with Wesley, and I only lived 2 hours from him back east, and we rode a lot together. I mean, every single weekend during the race season, we were together, going down south and training together, and it's just he's just got the attitude that you need to have when you're at the racetrack.
Right. When you moved out to the West Coast, um, who did you pick to set your sights on out here?
Oh, Bo, of course. I mean, he's the best. He's the best. If you can beat the best, you're gonna be the best. So, um, yeah, I watched a lot of Bo. Um, Even if a lot of people didn't think I was watching Bo, I was watching Bo. Pro practice on Saturdays, I'd try to get near him, and even if he didn't think I was trying to get near him, I was right there watching him, and I was trying to pick up on what he's doing different than every other rider, and I think I started to figure it out before the injuries. I think I was getting better. I think I could have had a very successful career in works. Um, I guess stuff happens, unfortunately.
Right, right. So let's break all the series down because you're a fan of ATV racing,
Hmm.
and you look at the cross country series, and you see how it's growing. Why do you think that particular series is on a growth when everybody else is either staying the same or numbers are dropping?
Um, I think that GNCC found their target audience and nailed it right on the head. They figured out that they have these races in these middle of the woods towns, and these guys love going out and playing in the mud. They love drinking beer. They love going and watching four-wheeler racing, and they ran with the brand, and that's what they do. They race in the woods, they race in the mud, and there's a lot of, the areas that they race in that they pick are just very, country, and the fans that go to these races like the mud, and they like the, up close in the trees action where they can go out for the weekend and camp and have so much fun, to where motocross, I think the ATV motocross, I mean, it just started dropping off when the factories left, and gratefully for the GNCC, they do dirt bikes and quads on those weekends, so it's, the factories are still there, the branding is still there. Um, Maybe not the factories for the quads, but um, it's hard for the ATV racing because you go out to watch a pro GNCC race that's 2.5 hours long in the woods, versus you want to go out to watch an ATV pro race and you have two 20-minute motos and two 15-minute qualifiers spread across a 8-hour day. And I just think that the show isn't there, the performance isn't there. You know what I'm saying? Like, to pull people in, to get more spectators and more vendors and more people wanting to come watch, you got to make it worth their while. And having two 15-minute qualifiers and two motos for pros is great, but there's no show. It has to be a performance to pull people in. You go to a dirt bike national, you get to walk around all these factory rigs, you get to look at all these vendors. There's freestyle motocross going on, there's BMX racing going on. You know what I mean? Like, it pulls people in. You got to have more than just the racing to bring a fan base, I think.
You got to bring that entertainment value
Yeah, you got to
when the
bring
when the not
something. Yeah, because I mean, a lot of these tracks that we go to, and I mean, the dirt bikes go to the same tracks, so you can't even blame the area. But nobody wants to drive an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours to these tracks to watch, you know, just a couple motos, and then they get to watch, the youth riders. But and like I always enjoyed watching all the classes. I had always had friends in all these classes, but I'm there. I know these people personally, so I think it's a different attraction to watch all these races, to watch the C class riders and the 250 riders and the super mini riders and the pro am and the A class and the B class. It's different for somebody that rides and knows these people personally, but when you have an outsider come in, they don't want to see they don't want to see everybody race. You go to a supercross race at night, and yeah, they have the KTM juniors racing, but it's one little race throughout the whole night. That's not why they're coming to race.
Most people are getting a beer and a hot dog
Exactly,
and not
exactly.
watching the
So
kids.
like, yeah, it's hard. I mean, it's a difficult thing to go and watch. I think that the marketing behind all of it is just it's not there. I think that the amount of people that love the series are still is what keeps ATV racing alive, at least on the motocross side of things. I don't think that it's going anywhere anytime soon. There's a ton of people that dedicate their lives to it to keep it alive, but I just think that the people behind closed doors that are running these series, the marketing is just it's not there. You know the push to grow is just it's not there for them anymore. Their focus is on bigger, different things. So I think
Right.
it's going to take somebody to come in and kind of revamp the whole program and change everything for
So
it
do you
to
think
to grow
it's the
again.
higher ups holding motocross back because they don't make it
Yeah,
more of a show?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's the people that run the series for sure. Yeah,
What do you think about the work series? I mean, and what could draw fans to it?
I think that again, I think it's gonna be vendors, it's gonna be entertainment, it's gonna be coming some money out of your pocket to pay a couple freestyle riders to come and do some freestyle events while the pros aren't on the track. I think having pros, dirt bikes, and quads on Saturday would be a huge hit. I think that would bring in a ton more people. Making the tracks a little bit more spectator friendly, I think, would help too. Allowing them something like GNCC where they're allowed to wander off into the woods and they're allowed to go out there and they're allowed to be right up close to the racing. You go to a works race and you get to watch the motocross tracks and then the riders disappear for 10 minutes. You know, like it's not something that's very like, tension grabbing and people that want to come watch. So I
Right.
think, bringing the vendors, bringing the entertainment, allowing these spectators to wander off into the desert and see these different sections and be out there, living it right in front of them, I think that would definitely change a lot.
I agree.
And
Make
I
it
don't think that
show.
I don't think that Randy restricts it. I don't think that you're restricted from going out there.
I don't think
Um,
it's allowed to let them go out there.
I think some tracks they are because when I went to watch Cedar, I walked all the way out into the desert and was watching them guys race out there. But I don't know. I don't know if it's an advertisement thing or a marketing thing. Again, bring the energy, bring the vendors, and sometimes you gotta put your effort in elsewhere than the racing, if that makes sense. I think.
Yeah, I believe that all ATV racing suffers from lack of promotion.
Yeah,
Lack.
promotion
Let
and
me let me let
and
me, let me rephrase that. Lack of correct promotion.
yeah, I agree. I
And
mean,
and
I try to like relate it to the dirt bikes. You go to a dirt bike national, and there's 50 food vendors, and there's all this trackside stuff that you can go do. Same with Supercross. You get the pits and you get to walk around all these vendors and Alpine Star has one and you have like the little Stasic dirt bikes for the kids and you have, so many different activities to do for 4 hours before the race even starts. I mean, when I go to Supercross, I show up at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and I'm hanging out in the pits until the races start. So I'm there for, 8 hours all day long, but it's a show. It's a they have things there to pull people in for their attention.
that's the way they need to
And that
these promoters in the ATV
yeah,
motocross
they just
and
have to.
works and all that need to lay these promotions out like that. I agree.
Yeah.
That's what I think anyways, but
Yeah. And
I'm
there's no bad blood against any of the people that run it. We're great. I mean, I think most people that race four wheelers are grateful that we even have people that are willing to put the time in, but I think the only way to ever see it grow is to is to really expand the creativity and make it worth people's while to come watch these races. It
Right.
it can't just be, oh well, people should come want to watch racing. No, you have to make it worth it for these people to come watch racing.
I
Because if
agree.
I didn't race and I didn't know nothing about it, I would want to see like a big flyer with all these different activities and then boom, ATV racing right on the top. I would go watch a race, you
Right.
know?
Right.
Like it's just it's got to be an event instead of just a race.
I totally agree. You
So,
know, promoting it and allowing the spectator to have something to do until the race they came to watch is happening.
yeah. And I mean, they start bringing more money in, that leaves open for more tracks, more riders. It grows and grows and grows. And then the next thing you know, we're as big as the dirt bikes.
So 10 years from now, there's a legends race and they call you up and they go, hey, Jacob, we're having this legends race back here. Do you think you could show up and ride? What would you be thinking?
I'd do it. And then 10 years from now, I'll be 36. Yeah, I'd show up. Why not?
Ready to go.
Ready to go.
What do you
I'd
think of
show up.
what do you think of a 60-year-old Jacob going out there and doing
We're gonna have to see how 6-year-old Jacob feels, because 26-year-old Jacob doesn't feel like 60-year-old Jacob's gonna say yes.
it? So when you think Joe Bird and Doug Eichner and John Natale and some of these guys are coming back and they're, from 50 to 60 years old, there's even guys that are younger than that, but these older guys are coming off the couch and throwing down. They're
Yeah,
gonna they want to race.
yeah. I mean, I think any racer that raced for a long time I think would struggle saying no to something like that. Um, so yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, it's gonna be a good race. They're gonna have fun, and at the end of the day, it don't matter who wins or loses or whatever. They're all gonna go have a ball and race a four wheeler again. So um,
You can say that it doesn't matter who wins or loses.
yeah, that's true.
Every one of those guys.
Some
This
people
is my
definitely
biggest.
have a little bit of a more, stronger edge than others. John Natale that raced, 2 years ago is going to do a little bit better than a Dustin Wimmer that raced 20 years ago
It
or
wasn't
10 years ago.
years ago.
Yeah, 10 years ago. So I mean, I don't know. It's going to be hard for everybody to have like this itch to win. I think some people are just going to have a little bit of a better advantage than others, being off the quad less time than some other people.
Yeah, I just worry, because Joe Bird, I got to talk to him and have him on the show and talk to his medical issues that he's been having, and he's healthy, he's okay, but he also gained a lot of weight and he changed his
Yeah.
diet, obviously.
Yeah.
Plus, my guy Doug Eichner coming back at 59 years old,
Yeah.
and him
When was the
telling me
last time he raced a four wheeler?
when he was 50.
Yeah. Well, that's crazy in itself, but still, that was nine
Yeah,
years ago.
and he's like, I can win it, I can win it, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, really, dude? We're going to have fun. Sign autographs, you know, throw a couple whips at the jump and
Have fun.
wave, sign autographs, do the camera thing, and we'll go home in one piece and you
Yeah.
you have to go and sign autographs and feel that glory one more time.
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't think they should have a so-called winner to the thing, but
Yeah.
I'm not gonna.
It's a race. They got a race. Yeah, it's just,
Yeah, how are you gonna send them guys out there to race 5 laps or 4 laps?
yeah. I mean,
There's
I don't, like I said, I don't
two
think
guys.
it's gonna
There's gonna be
be,
two guys in good enough shape to go that hard for that long.
yeah. So I don't know. I think they should all just go out, have a good time, race a four wheeler. At the end of the day, it's not gonna change history.
Have you been watching any of the other forms of racing? I know you're a Supercross fan,
Yeah.
uh, but how much do you pay attention to what's going on back east in the ATV motocross scene?
I pay attention. I'd say more to that than I do any other series. Maybe not Supercross. I definitely pay attention to Supercross a little bit more now. But I definitely pay a lot of attention to the ATV motocross series still now to this day. I got a lot of friends that I talk to on a regular basis that are still racing, so I get all the information that I'm looking for from them.
So I see it. There's three levels. There's Joel Hetrick. Chad would be in there if
Yeah.
Chad was
Hmm.
there. And now there's Bryce Ford and Brandon Hogue. And then there's everybody else.
Yeah.
And when I say everybody else, you're like from fourth place to 10th place that can change at any given moment.
Yeah, I would say it's even more broad than that. I think you have like a Chad and Joel, obviously, if Chad was there, and then you have your Bryce and Brandon, and you could even throw, you know, I don't know, maybe throw Wesley into that mix once I think he's growing and getting faster. He's right there in fourth. He's finished consecutively fourth for a couple races, and so I think he could get there. But I mean, after that, I think your fourth through eighth place guy is going to be always in that fourth through eighth place. You have your Janusa, your Jeffrey or Shelley, Wesley Wolf, Max Lindquist. So they're always going to be right there, and then you have the rest of your field. Um, but yeah, I mean it's definitely racy between fourth and 10th. I would say it's very racy. It's very back and forth. Bryce and Brandon look like they're just having, a two-way battle out there the past couple weeks. They get great starts. They put them both selves in very good positions, and by the time the other fast riders get up to them, it's kind of like they're they're already in their own world battling it out together, and then Joel's just kind of out there riding, seems like. So, um, yeah, I mean, I give a lot of credit to Brandon and Bryce. They bust their butt and they're there battling for podium position, second place, and hopefully that they can keep working and working and working and get to where Joel's at. And I hope some more riders in the back start working and working and working a little bit more to get further up front so we can see some first place battles happening instead of second place ones.
Well, the last weekend's results were mixed because the guys that were fourth, fifth, sixth,
Yeah,
seventh were not there. The
in the
second
first
moto
moto
farther back.
or the second moto. Yeah,
Yeah.
Wesley crashed out in the second moto, and then yeah,
Max,
that I mean
Max was fourth overall and
Max was
Janusz was
fourth.
fifth.
Yep, it's usually like Max, Janusa, Jeffrey, Wesley in that in those positions, battling for that fourth to eighth position, ninth
Don't
position.
count out the rookie Mason Jackson. That
And
kid,
Mason Jackson's there too, man. I like Mason. He's a good kid. I've known him since he was man. I've known that kid since he was on a 70 cc little auto 70 cc,
I think,
and
looks pretty determined.
he's good. No, he's always ridden well. He was great on a 250. He was great in A class, and now he's racing pro. He's had a couple bad get-offs in the past couple races. It seems like every single race something happens to where it puts him kind of out of the battle, but he's had a couple really good moto finishes, in the top seven even been up there. So he looks really good. And I mean, even some of the other rookies, Aaron Salinas he's good. Joey Chambers is good. You know, Adam Ulrich, he's riding well. It's a big step for a lot of these rookies, I think, and the level that Joel's obviously at is a different ball game than even what Bryce and Brandon are at, and even the level that they're at, it's kind of like tiered down. And when these rookies hop in there, they have a lot to learn and a lot to compete against to get to where a lot of these other riders were. I mean, even Bryce came out and had a great rookie year, but he's definitely better now than he was, 3 years ago. And Brandon Hogue, I mean, he has always been there, but he's definitely better now than he ever has been. Every rider seems like they keep getting better, and other riders just keep getting better. So it's always just like a who's working harder and getting to where they need to be kind of game.
Right. I like it. I like it. What do you think about Braxton Gross going to GNCC and he's won two. in the XC2 class. I know it's not the pro class, but I still you're a high speed desert rider or off
Yeah,
road
no,
rider
it's
through
it's
a tight
impressive.
technical woods.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean it's impressive. It's very, very, very impressive. And the only person I can really relate it to is a Wesley Wolf racing, MX and GNCC at a point of his career. And even when he was racing XC2, I remember him coming home from those races and saying how gnarly and crazy hard they were, and he wasn't even winning them sometimes. So, I mean, for Braxton to go back there and win XC2 and then also be out here winning works at the same time, I mean, it's insanely impressive that he's becoming a more diverse rider. And now he just needs to go out there and race some MX to see what he can do out there with those East Coast boys on MX track.
When I had him on the live Instagram show, the bench prep conversation show, he was totally willing to try it.
Yeah, I'd love to see what how he competes out there with those guys.
Oh, totally. I would too. And I wouldn't even put him in. I wouldn't even put him in, a pro sport or anything. I just throw him right in the pro class.
Oh yeah, I mean, why not? I mean, I maybe put him in Pro Am his first race just to see where he's at. I mean, hell, he goes out and wins Pro Am, race Pro, or shit, just go out there and race Pro and Pro Am.
Right. Like Mason Jackson and Kevin
Yeah, go out
Sullivan.
there, race Pro on Saturday and Pro Am on Sunday.
I mean, that's got to be tough for the A riders, the amateur riders that are
Yeah,
in that class, because these two pros come down and beat them, you know. Joey Norris is freaking putting on a pro sport. He's freaking killing it, and
yeah,
he can't
yeah.
seem to
Joey's
get it
good
to work out for him in the pro am.
in Pro Am. Yeah,
Him and Launderville are having a slugfest in both
yeah.
classes.
And it's so crazy too. I mean, I feel like I sound old when I say this, but man, some of these riders that are racing pro now, like Mason Jackson, Adam Ulrich, you know, even Pro Am, Joey Chambers, and um, all these guys like Joey Norris, and all these guys that are racing Pro Am and Launderville. I was watching those guys when I was in an A class, battling in A class when they were on CVTs. I mean, it's crazy to see. It's crazy. I mean, when I'm a good friend with Adam Ulrich and his family, and I met his dad when Adam was 8 when I met him. Now he's racing pro class. Ian Juka racing pro am. I met that kid when he was 7 years old. I mean, it's crazy. It's
Well, bro,
crazy.
think about it this way. I was doing this before you were born.
That's true. That's very true. I mean, I'm only 26, so I can't really say I'm that old.
No, you're not. You're still
I'm
a
not
baby.
old. I'm very young.
Yeah,
But
I
it's
mean,
crazy to see it. It's wild to see. I mean, even Bryce Ford. I remember seeing him on 50 CVTs. I was top 3 in pro class every weekend.
yeah,
It's
it's
crazy to
crazy.
see. It's crazy.
I know. I see
Crazy
some
to
of these
watch.
pros. I see some of these pros, and they're gray-haired old men, and I'm like, that's not how I remember you.
Yeah, I mean, shit. You knew Bo when he was
Young.
young, young Bo, young Bo.
Right. Right. I remember watching Bo win his first race.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And yeah, it is crazy. Um, I spent a lot of years doing a lot of different stuff and watching people evolve, through the racing, and you see champions come and go. I mean, I remember when Barry Hawk was, just this kid, battling with Bob Sloan.
Yeah,
And now look at he's in the Hall of Fame.
yeah. That's crazy.
Tell
That's
me about
crazy.
it. We've been blessed to do a lot of different things, and that's one of the reasons why I really wanted to have you come on. I consider you one of my friends,
Yeah,
and not everybody knows your story and everything that goes on and everything that happens with you. They just know that you were there one day and gone the next. And I wanted your story to come out so that I could understand that you had to make the hard decision for your own self and for your future.
yeah. No, 100%. And it all just lied down to I gotta wake up and go to work on Monday morning, and I gotta make a living, and I'm gonna have a family, and stuff to take care of one day. And thinking into the future that far, I think it was the smart decision. Obviously, as much as everybody knows, you know, things aren't always promised in the future, but I'd like to set myself up for stuff in the future with how my body feels, and being able to make money and go to work and grow and stuff like that. And again, I'm definitely gonna ride again. I'm itching to get back on any machine. I'm probably gonna get a dirt bike here soon just for fun, and I'm sure you'll see me on a quad at some point here in the near future.
I know we will. I know.
Yeah. Maybe not pro class, but you'll definitely see me out there racing something on a quad here soon.
Well, you got 4 years before you can race the 30A class.
That's right, but I can go back east. There has been some talks in the works about me going back east to race a national.
The team here at ATV-TALK would love your feedback. Please email it.
Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, don't forget to share us with your family and friends. The podcast is available on all streaming platforms, and you can find us on social media as ATV Talk Podcast. We're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Rumble, and Twitter.